You know, there's this very specific and I mean incredibly frustrating sinking feeling when you hire a brilliantly capable new assistant.
Oh, yeah. The one who looks, completely perfect on paper.
Right.
Like they have the flawless resume, they're clearly intelligent, but then day one actually happens.
Exactly. You're rushing past their desk between meetings, and you just throw this passing comment over your shoulder. You say, uh, hey, can you grab the quarterly numbers and write up a quick summary for me?
Then they just stare at you blankly.
Or honestly worse, they spend like 4 hours building this massive spreadsheet for the wrong department, for the wrong quarter, and they're focusing on metrics you don't even care about.
Right, because they have zero context about you.
Zero.
They don't know your specific job function or, frankly, what you actually mean by the word numbers in that context.
Yeah, and suddenly you realize the problem isn't that your new assistant isn't smart.
No, the problem is you.
Right. The problem is that you completely failed at delegating. You gave a highly capable entity a terrible set of instructions.
Which happens all the time.
It does. And today, we are doing a deep dive into a source document called setthestage.pdf to show you how you might be making that exact same delegation mistake with artificial intelligence.
It's a really common trap.
It really is. So we are taking the concepts in this document, which focuses pretty heavily on the practice of prompt engineering, specifically in a healthcare administration context, and we're going to extract the core mechanics for you.
Because the mission here is pretty straightforward.
Absolutely. Our goal for you today is to transform your relationship with AI tools. We want to move you from, pulling your hair out over these generic robotic outputs to consistently generating highly targeted professional grade results.
But to get there, we really have to reframe what we are even doing when we sit down at the keyboard.
Yeah, the whole mindset has to shift.
Exactly. And honestly, the phrase prompt engineering is arguably one of the worst branding decisions in modern tech.
It sounds terrifying.
It does. It sounds so intimidating. It implies you need this computer science degree or that you need to understand Python or that you are somehow, programming the machine.
Which you're not.
Not at all. And the source text is wonderfully explicit about dismantling this myth right out of the gate. Prompt engineering is not a technical skill.
Right.
It is purely a communication skill.
Okay, let me push back on that for a second, though.
Sure.
Because if this is just basic human communication, why are so many incredibly articulate, highly educated professionals like the healthcare administrators highlighted in our source, why are they struggling so much to get these advanced AI tools to actually be helpful?
It's a great question.
Right. If it's just talking, why are we currently failing at it? So what does this all mean?
Well, our source points to a fundamental misunderstanding of the tool itself. And it really traces all the way back to how we've been conditioned over the last couple of decades.
Conditioned by the internet?
Exactly. We have this deeply ingrained muscle memory that we bring to literally every blank text box on the internet. Think about how we have spent the last 25 years interacting with search engines.
Yeah, we just type in fragments.
Right. When you go to Google, you are querying a static database. You're just trying to match keywords to existing pre-written documents that are floating around out there on the web.
So we use this like caveman shorthand.
Yes. We type headache symptoms or local pizza near me. We rely entirely on the search engine's algorithm to do the heavy lifting, to figure out what our actual intent is.
And to just serve up a list of links.
Exact.
So we take that exact same habit and we treat the AI text box exactly like a search bar. I type in staffing shortage solutions and I expect it to magically know what I need.
But that's not what is happening behind the scenes. It's not just searching a fancier internal database.
Right. The AI is doing something completely different.
Completely. When you open ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, you're not searching. You are initiating a brand new conversation with a system that generates original content from scratch.
Word by word.
Word by word. These large language models are essentially the world's most sophisticated autocomplete algorithms.
They're just predicting what comes next.
Right. They are predicting the next most mathematically probable word based on the text you just gave them. And the critical piece that users forget is that this tool knows absolutely nothing about you.
Nothing at all.
It doesn't know your job title. It doesn't know if you work in a 500-bed hospital or a random tech startup. And it certainly doesn't know what you intend to do with the answer.
So if you're listening to this on your commute or at your desk right now, just think about that from a mathematical perspective.
Yeah, it's wild.
If you just give the AI 3 vague keywords, you are widening the probability vector to include almost all of human knowledge. You're forcing the system to guess what you want from a massive, generalized pool of data.
Which is a recipe for disaster.
It is. It's like walking up to that brilliant creative assistant we talked about earlier, handing them a dusty, dewy decimal card catalog, giving them 3 random words, and expecting a beautifully nuanced professional report.
What's fascinating here is that that is the perfect way to visualize the disconnect.
You like that?
I do, because the quality of the generated content is tethered directly to the quality of the input. In the world of generative AI, generic input mathematically guarantees a generic output.
It has no choice.
None. The tool just defaults to the safest, broadest, most average response possible.
Because you haven't given it any boundaries.
Exactly. You haven't given it the boundaries it needs to be specific.
And in a professional setting, especially in something as complex and high stakes as healthcare administration, a generic, average answer is actively dangerous.
Oh, absolutely.
Like taking generic management advice and trying to apply it blindly to a medical surgical unit isn't just unhelpful, it's professional negligence.
Yeah, it could actually cause harm.
Right. The text makes it very clear that the documents you produce carry real weight. An AI response that could equally apply to a retail store simply does not help a hospital administrator.
No, it doesn't.
We have to force the AI out of that generic middle ground.
Which brings us to the actual mechanism of how we do that. Because generative AI builds its responses based solely on the data you provide in the prompt, we need a reliable framework.
Something we can repeat.
Yes, a repeatable framework to feed it the right data vectors every single time. And the source text outlines 4 core elements of an effective prompt.
Okay, let's unpack this. What are the 4 elements?
They are role, context, constraints, and output specification.
So role, context, constraints, output spec.
Exactly. And going back to your earlier point about this just being communication, the text argues that utilizing these 4 elements isn't a new cognitive muscle at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it is the exact same instinct a good manager uses to run an effective meeting or to delegate a complex task.
Okay, getting the right people, the right information in the right format to get a decision made.
Exactly.
Let's break down how that translates to the machine, starting with the first element, role.
Okay, role.
I'm assuming this means like assigning the AI a character to play. But wait, if I tell ChatGPT, act like a hospital administrator, is it actually reasoning like one? Or is it just blindly swapping out its vocabulary to sound more corporate?
It is shifting its probability matrix.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well, when you tell the AI who you are or who you want it to write as, you are instantly narrowing the semantic space it draws from.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, if you start your prompt with, I am a department manager at a 200-bed community hospital, you eliminate millions of potential word choices.
Because it's no longer pulling from the whole internet.
Right. It's not going to use concepts that a teenager or a mechanic or a retail manager might use. You are heavily weighting the vocabulary, the analytical frameworks, and the professional tone found specifically in healthcare literature.
You force the algorithm into a highly specialized corner of its training data with literally a single sentence.
Exactly.
So you're basically filtering out the noise before the AI even starts generating a response.
That's a great way to put it.
It's the difference between asking, how do I fix a tire, to a bicycle mechanic versus an aviation mechanic.
Right. The role dictates the entire flavor and safety profile of the advice.
But obviously, a brilliant aviation mechanic still can't fix my airplane if I don't tell them which part of the plane is currently on fire.
Exactly.
The role isn't enough on its own.
No, which is exactly why the second element is context.
Context, okay.
This is the background information. It's the raw materials the tool needs to understand your specific localized situation.
Like, what is actually going on?
Right. What is the actual problem? What is the history here? Who is the audience for this final document?
And the source has a really striking example of this, right?
It does. It shows what happens when you omit the context. If you just prompt the AI to write an email about staffing, it will produce something technically grammatically correct, but utterly devoid of professional utility.
Because staffing at a fast food franchise means dealing with part-time shift swaps.
Exactly.
Whereas staffing in a neonatal intensive care unit involves highly specialized, credentialed nurses and literally life or death patient safety ratios. The AI needs to know which universe it's operating in.
So instead of that vague request, you provide the background. You say, write an email to my vice president explaining why my medical surgical unit needs 2 additional full-time night shift nurses.
Wow, that's specific.
It gets better. You use our rising patient safety incident reports from the last quarter as the primary argument.
Look at all the variables you've just handed the machine there.
It's a game changer. It now understands the corporate hierarchy. You are writing up to a VP.
Right.
It knows the specific clinical unit. It knows the exact resource you're requesting. And it knows the evidentiary foundation it should use to build the argument.
You've given it the ingredients. So we have the role to set the perspective and the context to define the problem.
Yes.
But if I just give it those 2 things, couldn't the AI still decide to write me like a 40-page, highly academic thesis on patient safety? How do I stop it from just doing way too much?
It leads directly into the third element, constraints.
Constraints. So putting it in a box.
Exactly. These are the boundaries you enforce upon the output. If context is the paint you give the AI, constraints are the size of the canvas.
I like that.
Yeah, by artificially limiting the tool's options, you actually force it to be more precise and more valuable.
What kind of boundaries are we talking about here? Are we just talking about word counts? Like keep it under 500 words?
Word limits are a big one, yes. But constraints also dictate tone preferences or specific data points you absolutely want highlighted.
Or things to avoid?
Crucially, yes, things you want the AI to completely exclude. You might say, do not use clinical jargon, or keep the tone strictly objective and remove any emotional language.
So it's about telling it what not to do.
Exactly. Constraints are what prevent the tool from giving you a dense, sprawling essay when what you actually needed was 3 snappy, digestible bullet points for a stressful morning team huddle.
I love the idea of using constraints to tell the AI what not to do. It forces the predictive text to navigate around obstacles, which usually results in a much sharper, more focused response.
It absolutely does.
So we restricted the perspective, we've defined the problem, and we've built the boundaries. What is the final piece of the framework?
The fourth element is output specification.
Okay, output specification.
This is where you remove all the guesswork and name the exact physical deliverable you want.
Like what it actually looks like on the page.
Right. Are you asking for a formal memo,
Hmm.
a bulleted list of talking points, an executive summary, a 2-column comparison table? You have to specify the container.
And if I don't name the deliverable, what happens? Does it just break?
No, the tool will simply invent one. Yeah, it will just guess based on whatever format is most common in its training data for your topic. And honestly, the AI's guess regarding what format would be most helpful for your specific Tuesday morning meeting is almost always wrong.
So you just end up spending 20 minutes reformatting the text anyway.
Exactly, which completely defeats the purpose of using an automation tool in the first place.
All right, so that's role, context, constraints, and output specification.
That's the framework.
Let's move this from theory into reality. Here's where it gets really interesting. The source document provides this brilliant tale of 2 prompts to demonstrate just how drastically these 4 elements alter the machine's output.
It's a great case study.
It is. We are going to look at a high-stakes, real-world scenario. Let's look at the bad prompt first. Ready?
Let's hear it.
The bad prompt is simply, tell me about employee burnout in healthcare.
Wow.
Yeah. Now let's pause and channel our listener for a second. If you are a busy administrator, you are overloaded with meetings, and you're turning to AI, your primary goal is to save time. Writing out a massive, detailed 4-part paragraph feels like it completely defeats the purpose of using a shortcut.
It feels like more work.
Right. Why shouldn't I just type those 7 words and let the computer do the work?
Because it is incredibly tempting to take that shortcut, but let's look at the mathematical reality of what happens when you do.
Okay, what happens?
That short prompt, tell me about employee burnout in healthcare, forces the AI to give you a generic, high-level overview.
Like a Wikipedia page.
Exactly. It will spit out an introductory management textbook answer. It will define burnout. It'll list common causes like long hours, and it'll suggest basic solutions like wellness programs.
Which is completely useless to a professional.
Totally useless.
If you are a hospital administrator dealing with a staffing crisis, you already know what burnout is.
You live it.
Right. You don't need a definition. You need a solution to present to your boss in 20 minutes.
And if you use that bad prompt, you would spend 2 hours trying to manually edit that generic robotic textbook answer into a proposal you could actually use.
So the shortcut actually creates more work.
It always does. Now let's look at the good prompt from the text, which applies our 4-part framework to the exact same issue. Listen to how specific this gets.
All right, lay it on me.
I am a healthcare administrator at a mid-sized community hospital.
Okay, that's the role right there.
Yep. Then it says, my nursing leadership team has flagged increasing burnout indicators on the medical surgical unit, including rising call-off rates and 2 resignations in the past month.
Boom, that's the context.
Exactly. Then, I need a 1-page summary for my chief nursing officer that outlines 3 evidence-informed strategies I can implement within the next 30 days. Keep the tone professional but direct. Focus on actionable operational changes, not abstract theory.
Wow. And those are the constraints and the output specification all wrapped up together.
Exactly.
I mean, that is a dense paragraph. If I'm typing that out or even, dictating it into my phone, that takes maybe 2 or 3 solid minutes of actual cognitive effort. I have to really think about what I want before I ask for it.
It requires front-loading the work, yes, but look at the return on investment for those 3 minutes.
Right.
The second prompt doesn't give you a Wikipedia definition of burnout. It generates a targeted, highly actionable document written specifically for a chief nursing officer.
So it's ready to go?
It focuses entirely on 30-day operational strategies for a medical surgical unit. The difference in the utility of the output is just night and day.
And here is the crucial takeaway for everyone listening. The difference isn't the technology.
Not at all.
Both of those prompts were run through the exact same large language model. The only variable that changed was the quality of the communication from the human.
You do a little bit of rigorous thinking up front, so the machine can execute the heavy lifting on the back end.
It's a massive multiplier for your time.
It really is.
But of course, the text acknowledges human nature. Even when we know this framework perfectly, the reality of a chaotic Tuesday afternoon means we get stressed, we rush, and we regress right back to our search engine habits.
It's inevitable.
It is. So the source identifies the 4 most common prompting mistakes, the fatal flaws that we have to actively guard against.
And recognizing these failure modes is just as critical as mastering the framework itself.
So what's the first mistake?
The first mistake is the most pervasive,
Right.
simply being too vague.
The search bar problem.
Exactly. As we discussed, when you are vague, you experience a probability failure. You give the AI too wide of a semantic space, and it defaults to the blandest, safest average of human knowledge.
Vague inputs mathematically guarantee unhelpful outputs.
Exactly. It's falling right back into the tell me about burnout trap.
Okay, what is the second mistake?
The second flaw is omitting the audience.
Forgetting who it's for.
Right. If you fail to tell the tool who will ultimately be reading this output, it cannot calibrate its tone, its vocabulary, or its level of detail.
So what does it do?
It will just generate a document that is pitched at a generic, middle school reading level, which serves absolutely no one in a corporate environment.
I think about omitting the audience like a catastrophic email reply-all mistake.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Imagine you were writing a highly sensitive, nuanced financial update meant strictly for the board of directors,
Okay.
but you use an AI that defaults to a casual conversational tone, and the resulting document reads like a breezy Friday memo to the frontline staff, complete with, exclamation points and corporate cheerleading.
Oh, no.
Right. Bringing that tone to a board meeting isn't just awkward, it could actively damage your professional credibility.
That is a visceral and honestly entirely accurate analogy. A board of directors requires a completely different cognitive load and vocabulary than a frontline nursing team.
You have to tell the AI to read the room.
Exactly. The AI is fully capable of adapting to either, but only if you explicitly dictate the audience.
Which naturally leads to the third mistake.
Right, failing to specify the format. We touched on this with the output specification.
If you don't say memo, you don't get a memo.
If you need a professional memo to attach to an email, you must say the words professional memo. If you need an agenda with time blocks, you must specify that format. If you leave it blank, the AI will hallucinate a format, and you will waste your own time fixing it.
So to recap the traps, avoid widening the probability vector by being vague. Never let the AI guess who is reading the document, and always dictate the physical container or format.
That's 3 out of 4.
That leaves the fourth fatal flaw. And as I read the source document, this felt less like a tactical error and more like a profound misunderstanding of human-computer interaction.
This raises an important question, because it absolutely is a philosophical shift. The fourth, and perhaps most damaging mistake, is assuming the first output the AI gives you is the final product.
We treat it like a vending machine.
Yes, exactly.
I put my well-crafted prompt in like a dollar bill, I push the button, and I expect the perfect finished candy bar to drop out. And if it's the wrong candy bar or the tone is slightly off, I just throw my hands up, declare the AI is stupid, and go rate the email myself.
Transaction over.
Transaction over.
But the vending machine mindset is the death of AI utility. The source text stresses repeatedly that the first response from any generative AI should always unconditionally be treated as a rough first draft.
It's never done on the first try.
Almost never. It is the opening move in a collaboration. The professionals who extract real, tangible, hours-saving value from these tools are the ones who utilize an iterative approach.
It's a conversation.
Exactly.
You read that first draft, and then you reply to the AI with corrections. You say, this is a good structural start, but the second paragraph is way too academic. Make it punchier.
Right.
And rewrite the conclusion to completely exclude the point about the Q3 budget. We aren't discussing that yet.
And because the LLM retains the memory of the conversation, it applies your new constraints to the existing context and generates a tighter, more refined second draft.
You iterate.
You iterate, just like you would do with that brilliant new human assistant we talked about at the beginning of the deep dive. You wouldn't just take their very first rough draft of a report and blindly forward it to the CEO without reviewing it.
Of course not. You'd review it, give feedback.
You would sit down with them, provide targeted feedback, clarify your constraints, and have them refine it. The iteration phase is where the real magic happens. It is the dividing line between casual, frustrated users and elite power users.
This has been an incredibly clarifying session. Let's synthesize why you, the listener, should genuinely care about integrating this into your daily workflow.
It's so important.
What SetTheStage.pdf proves is that prompt engineering is not about learning to code, and it's not about being a tech genius.
Not at all.
It is about mitigating probability failures by learning to communicate with ruthless structural clarity.
Ruthless clarity. I like that.
If you front-load your interactions by establishing your role, providing the localized context, setting firm constraints, and naming the exact output specification, you mathematically force the AI to give you better results.
You really do.
You will consistently outperform someone using the exact same underlying technology who is still relying on bad search engine-style inputs. You are entirely in control of the quality you receive.
And if we step back and look at the bigger picture here, the mechanics of how we instruct AI leave us with a deeply profound question to ponder.
Oh, I'm ready for this.
We have established that these sophisticated language models fail almost entirely because our instructions are vague, they lack context, or they omit boundaries.
Right. The machine requires pristine, explicit communication to function effectively.
It only knows what we explicitly tell it.
Right.
So if that is true for a supercomputer, what does a frustrating, confusing AI output reveal about how we might be unconsciously communicating with our human colleagues?
Well,
think about the emails you fired off this morning. Think about how you assign complex projects in your weekly team meetings. Are you clearly defining the role, the context, the constraints, and the output specification for your team?
Probably not.
Or are you expecting human beings to just read your mind?
Right.
Is AI merely holding up a mirror to our own everyday communication gaps?
Wow. Are we giving our human coworkers the Dewey Decimal Card catalog and 3 random keywords treatment and then getting frustrated when they don't deliver what we wanted?
It's a real possibility.
That is a brilliant, slightly uncomfortable question to leave off on.
It gives you something to think about.
It really does. If you want radically better results from your artificial intelligence and maybe radically better results from your human team, the solution is the same. Start by looking at the quality of your prompts.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep asking hard questions, keep refining your inputs, and as always, keep learning. We'll catch you next time.